Alright, here we go. It's the gameplay of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shadows of the Past by Kevin Wilson, IDW Games, and Pandasaurus Games. This is just such an awesome game. Let's get into it.
Ninja Turtles, Ninja Turtles. It was in a half shell, turtle pie.
Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles board game again. Now, this is the second video in the series. We did an unboxing last week, so if you want to check that out, you can go watch that video. It's on the Works edition, which is what we have in front of us right here. And this is Scenario 1 from the first adventure comic book that we're going to be working through today. So again, this game is from IDW Games, Pandasaurus, as well as Kevin Wilson is the designer on this one. I do want to take a quick moment here and highlight the April O'Neil Adventure Pack again, and I believe I will do a separate video just on this as well. I'll probably record that right after we get done here with this gameplay. But this is the brand new April O'Neil Hero Pack. I did talk about this quite a bit in the unboxing video that I did for the Works edition of this game. So let's get into our gameplay here. I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'll read you some information here that's in the adventure comic. So this is what you're going to go to kind of set up your first scenario. And how I've done it is I have set up my Ninja Turtles down here. So I have this kind of set up, let's say if it was a two-player game. Again, even if you play two players, one player is going to control the enemy force on the board, and the other player or players are going to control the Ninja Turtles. So you can have 4 Ninja Turtle players and 1 villain player, or you can have 1 villain player and, whatever your spread is for the rest of your group. I'm going to kind of demo this out as if it would be sort of a 2-player game. I will control all the Ninja Turtles as 1 player, and then I, again, since I'm the only one here, will control the villain player, and we'll just kind of go back and forth, take a few turns, some rounds, and see how that will play out. I'm not going to play out the entire scenario, and unless maybe we can hit a win condition. So what I'll do here is I'll take a look at the adventure comic, and this is the first thing you're going to want to do to set up your scenario. You're going to want to open this up, and we're just going to go to the first battle in our first book here. And this is book 1 in the Shadows. It does indicate play this adventure first. And what's nice about this is it lists it out right here for you, is In the Shadows is intended to gradually introduce new players to the game. So the In the Shadows scenario will start to step you through some of the more simpler mechanics of the game, movement, attack, defense, things of that nature. There are a few tokens included on the board, so you'll get to use going from the ground to the roof, how that would work. You got some trash bags that are included here, so if you jump off of an elevated spot, you would normally take 4 dice worth of damage, and you can block that normally to however defense you might have available to you. You can roll defense against that. But if there's a little trash bags, or if there's I think one of them's like some form of like greenery, you can kind of jump into and negate that damage, and you don't have to roll for damage. So there's a couple of those tokens that are on the board. We've got some little car tokens that are here, and that's just to kind of illustrate more of like obstacles. If you'd want to move through those obstacles, it would cost extra movement to do so. Anything that's kind of bordered in that yellow cost extra movement to move through. So that kind of illustrates here with these cars. And then there's a couple different spots on the board that show unstable terrain as well as some restricted movement. You got your blue areas here, which are more elevated areas. So it kind of lists those out here on this first scenario just to give you a feel to kind of step through. And that's nice. I like the design of this or any game, quite frankly, that sort of steps you through the gameplay. So it isn't like you start scenario 1 with every rule possible that can happen. You sort of step into that and get through your legs under you as you start to play the game. So what we'll do here is, again, like I showed in the unboxing, this is designed much like a comic book. So you'll kind of read through, and it'll have some scenario that it will queue up for you, and it has some really awesome comic artwork you'll see on this side. And then the next few pages here you'll see sort of lays out what that scenario is going to be. So we can see here, Battle 1 Street Cleaners is the name of it. And I will say that this particular gameplay will have some spoilers in it, so I'll go ahead and tell you that now. And all I mean by spoilers is I'm going to basically read and list out what Scenario 1 is about and what will happen if you win or lose Scenario 1. And that's not going to be any secret. It's right there. It's not something where you find out once you win or you lose. It literally tells you what to do. If you want to call that spoilers, that's the spoilers that we're going to have, and I just wanted to call that out before we get involved here. So what it says here is the heroes have just interrupted a mugging. Time to clean up the streets before these punks get away.
Punks get away.
So this one's going to be more about, we're not going to see Bebop and Rocksteady and Shredder and those various characters, or some of the villain leaders in this one. We're mainly going to see our two different types of street thugs. We've got a gunner and we got a bruiser, I believe, or brawler. So we got a street thug gunner and a street thug brawler. And we'll look at some of their stats here in a second. Special rules. So it's going to start off kind of listing out any special rules for the scenario. No new villain figures may spawn during this battle. And all that means is, in some of these scenarios, and in most of them, as you, what they call KO, knock out villain minions, you're going to take those off the board and you're going to put them kind of into a pool. And at the end of the round, you're going to look at how many of those you have in your pool, cut them in half, round up, and you're going to spawn them back on the board in various starting locations. And that just kind of keeps that cycle or that wave of, bad guys on the board and available to the villain player. Because the Ninja Turtles are fairly powerful in the game as far as what their life is in comparison to, one of these thug kind of minions' life is, as well as the special abilities. So all Ninja Turtles have various special abilities that are, made available to them, which are fairly powerful. And, depending on how you kind of set up your combos of your action dice as well as your abilities, and you're going to be working together as players to set that up, you can really pull off some pretty sick combos. So it's a good design to allow that pool of bad guys to kind of continue to refresh round after round back into the board. It makes for very interesting gameplay. Or at least, I found that it does. So that's what that means. And then we got villain figures may move off the board from the marked goal spaces as though they were moving to an adjacent space. Villain figures that have moved off the board may not return. So basically, one of the win conditions for the villain on this one is to get these figures to these end goals. So this very last row here on this one and the very last row here on this one. That's what we're trying to do with our villain player, and we need to get at least 3 of these models off into those areas. And if we can win the scenario as the villain. Whereas the win condition for the Ninja Turtles is to KO at least 8 of these models. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 8 of those 10 need to be KO'd for the Ninja Turtles to win. And you may think, well, that's fairly unbalanced. I mean, I've only got to really maneuver 3 of these characters off the board, and I can go either direction. And obviously, these guys are pretty close to this side. Well, yes and no, and I think it's just due to the balance of the Ninja Turtles' ability to KO them. Because when you look at Ninja Turtles, they have lives of 11, 12, 13. When you look at your villain minions, which is all that you're going to be battling for this scenario, they have lives of like 3 for the brawler and 1 for the gunner. So it's completely possible to take out multiple figures in one turn with a Ninja Turtle if you use actions that allow you to target multiple thugs at once. So that's going to basically be the goal for this first scenario. And then the first thing you're going to see here is called strength, and there's strength mods. So for the hero, and the hero will always be on the side here in green, and the villain here is in red. and it says the hero skill mod is -2. So this was one inconsistency for me, and it may just be on my part, but in the rule book, when it talks about the very first battle, the intro scenario, which this is the first intro scenario, it indicates that the hero skill mod is -1. Well, here it indicates that it's -2. So I don't know if I've missed something or misinterpreted something, or if there was a misprint either in the rule book or in this book for the version that I got. But this one is -2, so I'm going to play it as it is in the rulebook with a hero mod of -1, and I'll explain what that means here in a second. It actually affects the amount of Ninja Turtle special ability cards that you can have. I'm going to play it as the -1 and not the -2, just so we have at least one more hero card per Ninja Turtle. That way we can see various different types of actions that we're going to be able to take with those Ninja Turtles. And how that works is what you will do is you will look at each one of your Ninja Turtles, and there's attributes on their cards. They have move, attack, defend, skill, and focus. Well, you're going to look at that skill, and here's a number right next to it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that number, and you're going to either add and or subtract from it. Well, for this one, you're going to be subtracting. It says -2. We're going to, again, take the -1. So -1 from that number, and you're going to get a small stack of action cards for each Ninja Turtle. There's going to be more than what I have here in my hand. And you're going to look through that stack, and you're going to select the ones that you want to use for that scenario. So, for instance, I may have 7 or 8 of these for Leonardo, and it says that his skill is 4. So I take 4, and then I would take -1, which would be 3. I then would look at my stack of special move cards for Leonardo, as I would for each one of the Ninja Turtles, and I would pick out 3. That would be 3 for Leonardo. Well, for instance, I could go here to Donatello, and Donatello's skill is 3. So that'd be 3 with a skill modifier, -1. So he would get 2 that he would get to go in with. So it's just a way that every scenario, you can kind of change it up a little bit and say, you know what, based on the scenario that I'm going into, here are the action special moves that I'm going to select for this Ninja Turtle. And it gives you some replayability. It allows you to kind of customize your Ninja Turtle for that particular scenario. So I thought that was another really cool mechanic, and makes it a lot of fun. And it also kind of makes you choose between all these different abilities that Ninja Turtles have. Which special move do I want each one to kind of come into the battle with? So I thought that was pretty cool. So Leonardo is going to have 3. Michelangelo is going to have 2 for this scenario. Raphael is only going to have 1. And because he's a little bit of a beefier character, you'll see that's why he has 6 dice here. And then Donatello is going to have 2. So those are going to be our special abilities for the round. You also notice that at that point we're going to set up our focus. The bottom here does indicate what our focus would be on each one of these cards. So Leonardo has 3, Michelangelo has 2, and so on and so on. So I'm going to set up those focus, and these are just the little focus tokens. What these are going to be used for is, as you play the game, let's say if you make a really bad defense or attack roll, you can spend a focus to reroll 1, 2, or the whole handful of die to get a nice kind of a mulligan, kind of a reroll. But after you do that reroll, you're done. You can't say, oh, I don't like that one, I want to spend another focus. So it is kind of a 1 focus per interaction. So after you spend that focus, and there's various ways to get focus back after you spend it. And you'll get that through various things that you do on the board. So it isn't like you will totally you got 3 focus and you'll never be able to get that focus back. Now the villain character is also going to start with focus, and that will be laid out right here in the book. It indicates the villain focus is 4, so I have my 4 villain focus here. Now the thing with villain focus is it does refresh, so at the end of every round the villain will get 1 focus back, and if they have their max they won't get 1 more. They only get up to their max for that scenario, this one being 4. So as I use focus as a villain, I'll be able to replenish that at the end of that round. It's going to then list out the objectives. We've already gone over those objectives. Then it's going to tell us our winning conditions. And one thing that I think is really cool about this is this isn't set up where you either, if you want to go on to the next battle 2 of the comic here, it isn't like you have to win as a Ninja Turtle player. So it really is designed in the way that it gives that win condition to both parties. And in a lot of these games that are set up this way, the villain player or the enemy player generally, restricts the movement or the forward progression of the campaign of the hero player generally. Well, what this offers is a way where if the hero wins, you do path A. If the villain wins, you do path B. So I'll read you how that works. It says, if the heroes win, the heroes question the street thugs they've captured and find out where the gang's hideout is located. Proceed to battle 2. If the villain wins, the street thugs get away cleanly. The heroes will have to work harder to find the gang's hideout now. Proceed to battle 3. So you kind of see there's somewhat of a path progression that will sort of change, which again, it adds more replayability because then you can go back and play an entire book over again. You might have a different outcome based on that interaction. So that's one thing that I really liked with the design. I saw that, I thought, wow, that's really awesome, and that's going to make this game really fun, and it's going to reward the villain player more with a win. And it isn't just going to be a restriction of a forward movement of the overarching campaign. So it really keeps both sides engaged in that overall campaign within the gameplay. Then it's going to list out the terrain cards that are going to be needed. And those I have listed right down here. And these are essentially just cards that list out various types of terrain. You'll see here on this one, we've got the elevated terrain. And it will tell you what happens. So this one says a figure that moves from elevated terrain to low terrain suffers 4 damage of dice, which may be defended as normal. This damage is avoided when moving into a space that contains a trash heap, a dumpster, a fire escape. Leaping figures will check to see if they take falling damage at the end of their leap. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terrain cards that are available, and some of those terrain cards actually have purchasable items or more action, not really items, they're actions that are on them. This one's called the grind rail. And it costs 3 of the little movements, and we'll find those here as well as on the villain cards and the action cards for the villains. I'll show you how that works. So if you happen to have a 3, enough movement points of that, you can then do this action, which allows you to kind of grind one of these rails and do damage to everybody that might be in that spot. So these are more situational type terrain things, and it isn't like you purchase it and then it's yours, or you pay for it and then it's gone. You are able to use this once per turn. So, after, let's say, Leonardo went and then the villain went, like Leonardo may use one of these, well, the villain may use the same one on their turn. So that's fine. It's just kind of available to all the players that might be playing at the time. So let's talk a little bit about how the turns are going to go back and forth. This isn't something where all the Ninja Turtles are going to take their turns and then the villain's going to get to react with every one of their figures. And the reason is because, again, the Ninja Turtles are so much more powerful than these, more thug villains. If I went all of my Ninja Turtles first, I could probably wipe out almost half of these, if not 3/4 of these. So how this is going to play out is a Ninja Turtle's going to go, a villain's going to go. A Ninja Turtle's going to go, villain's going to go. Ninja Turtle's going to go, villain going to go. Ninja Turtle, villain. So it will end with a villain. Ninja Turtle always goes first, and then it starts the cycle. So there's kind of 8 turns that happen, right? 4 for the Ninja Turtles, 4 for the villain. So that's how the turns are going to go back and forth, which I think is a good design as well. A lot of these games you'll see all the heroes go, then the villains react. I did like how it was kind of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it gives the villain player a little bit more engagement and interaction throughout the gameplay that I found. You aren't just sitting there kind of waiting for everybody else to go, and then you get to take your turn. So another mechanic that I really liked. Now, we've got some health tokens that we have over here. We'll use those to track some damage on various characters, probably mainly the Brawler, because the Street Gunner only has 1 life. It's pretty much a 1-hit, 1-kill if they don't defend. And then you're going to have your stop sign tokens here, and this is just to indicate once a turtle has taken their turn, because again, you can go in any order that you'd like to take your turns in. You'll discuss that amongst the players. So I'll use those to kind of mark the Ninja Turtles have taken their turns. And then let's go ahead and take a look at our villain deck. So before you start your scenario, it's going to indicate that in the book here. So if we turn the page, it's going to show you your layout of what your scenario will look like. And then it's going to tell you there at the top, you'll see where it's going to tell you which villains you're going to be using for this particular scenario. And this one's going to call for 3 different colors. And what that means is there's the same types of cards that are in these decks, so they do differ a little bit. But you'll see they're green, or they're blue, or they're kind of a brownish sort of red terracotta kind of color. And it's going to indicate for each one of those villains which colors of decks you're going to need. This one indicates that we need all 3 of the colors for the brawlers and the gunner thugs, so we have those in the deck. We're always going to use a special card called the regroup card. And that's just 1 card in the deck, and it says when drawn, gain 1 focus. Afterwards, shuffle this card, the villain deck, and the discard pile together to make a new villain deck. So it basically is just a reshuffle mechanic to get cards that you've already used back into your pool. And that's going to be available to you in every single deck. You're always going to put that in. So we'll give these another good shuffle here. And the villain player is going to select 5 of these cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes up the villain hand. And on the villain's turn, they are capable of playing 2 of these cards. So you'll want to play 2 of these cards when it's your turn. And that's going to allow you to basically activate models that are on the board. And a Ninja Turtle can, activate their action dice, doing, damage and whatnot, and they're able to use only 1 of their special moves. And that special move isn't lost, it isn't gone, it isn't like, hey, Leonardo has 3, so for that scenario, he can only use 3 special moves, otherwise he's just got to take normal actions. He can use those special moves over and over and over in any order, however he sees fit, for the situation that he's in. That goes the same way for any turtle. It isn't a one use and then you get rid of it kind of ability. Now, you can only use it once per turn, so once you put it out there, it's kind of done, you've used it, and it will stay out active all the way through the whole entire round, because some of them have lasting effects on them. And the villain cards, it's very important, they stay out as well because they have lasting effects as well. They'll offer up extra defense from models. There's various things they will do, so you definitely will leave them out. And there is a mechanic, and we'll show that as we go through gameplay, that will kind of take them off after there's so many out on the board. So they'll only be out for so long. It's a couple turns, really. And that will allow kind of a timer there on some of the effects that are offered from these cards. So I think that's everything that we need to go over. We can go ahead and start the gameplay now. Okay, we have talked enough, and now it's time to play. But I did want to kind of queue up everything that we had in front of us before we just jumped into the scenario. So what I was doing kind of made sense, as I go through various actions and take various actions here as we go through the gameplay. So, again, Ninja Turtles go first. So I will set my villain cards to the side here, and I now will decide who I want to go first. So I've got Donatello up here on the roof. I've got Raphael up here on this roof. I have Michelangelo standing right down here on the streets, and I have Leonardo standing right down here on the streets. He is in a space where he can get to a roof if he needs to, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave him right where he's at. And the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to roll all my action dice for my Ninja Turtles, and that's going to set for that round what I'm going to be capable of doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do Leonardo's first. All right, I got 2 movements and a defense. Okay, let's go with Michelangelo's. All right, I got a ranged attack, a defense, and a chi. And that one there, is going to be, it's kind of that little yin-yang sign. So that one's going to give us something special. I'll talk about that here in a second. And then I'm going to roll Raphael's 6 dice. Okay, he got quite a few of the little yin-yangs. Some swords and a defense. That's good. And then I'm going to roll Donatello's. And he got a movement, little yin-yang, a chi, and a sword, an attack. So you'll notice that Raphael has 6 dice and everybody else has 3. And the importance there is now what you're going to do as Ninja Turtles is you're going to determine in what you have to leave all the sides that you have up outside of your little yin-yang dice. So let me just talk about that first, and then we'll go into the actions you're going to take to kind of set up your attack here. So whenever you roll this little yin-yang sign here, what's going to happen is you're going to get a couple different things. One, you're going to get to immediately gain a focus back. Well, that's not really going to benefit us here because we just started the game and we have full focus. So that's the way that Ninja Turtles get their focus back throughout the game, is rolling that die. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be able to heal 1 die. So you would take one of your little battle dice here, you'd roll that, and there's like 1 attack, there's 2 attack, and there's basically a kind of a miss symbol on these. And you're either going to heal 1 or 2, and then you're going to get to take that die and turn it to any side that you want. So this is a pretty powerful icon to roll. Because it's going to give you a focus, it's going to give you healing, and it's going to allow you to put it on any side that you want. So again, we're just starting the game. I don't need healing, I don't need focus, so I'm pretty much going to revolve this around and put it on any side that I want. Well, you know what? I'm going to really kind of hook my Ninja Turtles up with some ranged and some melee. Actually, I'm going to give Raphael a ranged attack, and then I am going to give him some movement because he doesn't have any movement. I'm going to give Donatello a ranged attack. And I'm going to give Michelangelo let's see, I'm going to give him a ranged attack as well. Yeah, I'm going to give him a ranged attack because he's standing here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through this setup. I mean, we keep all of our die kind of in the facing that they're in, but we can move around the way that they're organized. And the importance to that is every one of these Ninja Turtles, except for Raphael, but his dice are accessible to others, they get to use their 3 dice plus the 1 on either side. So every turtle has access to 5 dice. So Michelangelo would get his 3 plus the 1 on either side. So that would give him an extra, if we left everything like it was right now, Michelangelo would get an extra defense, this one of Leonardo's, and he would get a double ranged attack, this one of Raphael's. So it's important that you kind of think through that as Ninja Turtle players in how you might want to put which dice are on those outside sides. And, you'd be kind of wrapped around, or maybe you're in a line, so, this one would be available to, Donatello, and then Donatello would get this side of Raphael's. So you just have to that's how that would work. So Raphael has 6 dice. He cannot use the dice on either side, the players that are on either side. So that's how that would be set up. He would only have the 6 dice that he has, but his 2 outer dice are available to the parties on either side of him. So that's how that really kind of works. I think for this one, what we'll do is, we'll kind of just leave it as where it is right now. And I actually kind of like the way it's set up. I think this works fairly well. That's the way that it is in the position it's in right now. So we'll leave that. And now we're ready to actually attack. So we would now decide which Ninja Turtle do we want to go first. Now I'll look at the board here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Michelangelo here. So Michelangelo is going to go first. And Michelangelo does have a couple dice here for ranged attack. Okay, and to take our ranged attack, we have to be at least 2 spots away from whatever we're attacking. So Michelangelo's here, and we got 1, 2. So I can attack this guy right here. 1, 2. I can also attack this guy right here. So how ranged works is, 1, it has to be at least 2 away. It can be more than 2, but every spot further than 2, it's 1 less damage. So if you want full damage of that ranged attack, it has to be within 2 spots. You know, kind of a ninja star range. And then what happens is you have to be able to have line of sight, which means you need to be able to draw a line from the center of this model to the center, the base of the other model. So you'll kind of have to watch, you know, if there's items like a car or, you know, more of, you know, blocked sort of terrain. You know, you really can't do that. So you have to kind of watch that. So I'm going to look here. Every Ninja Turtle does have an ability. So let's read Michelangelo's. Once per turn, Mikey may move 1 space for free, ignoring terrain and breakaway rules. And all breakaway means is if you're right adjacent to another model, and that's all the way around, diagonal counts, you have to spend an extra movement point to break away. So they don't get like a free attack. It's just a little harder to get away from them. But it indicates here that Michelangelo doesn't have to, you know, take that penalty. Also, terrain moves cost Mikey 1 less icon of your choice to use. So terrain moves are a little bit easier for Michelangelo if he wants to kind of jump around and move through things that normally would cost an extra point for that. He doesn't necessarily get to do. He doesn't necessarily have to, you know, get hit by that, and he also gets 1 movement for free. But I don't want to move him because I want to stay within range for a long tack here. Now I do have some special moves. I can throw a friend if I need to get somewhere quickly, or I can do a double chuck, which is an attack +1, but this is a melee. So I'm not going to use any special moves this turn. All right, so Mikey is going to take his ranged attack, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm able to actually attack both of these guys, and I think I'm going to do that because I have 1, 2. I also have Raphael's double attack over here. So I think first what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my action attack, and I'm going to do both of these dice here. And when you use a die, you'll just go ahead and put this little sewer cover on it to indicate that you've used it. You'll take those off once you're done to make sure your die are available to the other players on their turns. So that's 1, 2. You're going to add those up, and then you're going to add it to the attack on your Ninja Turtle, which for Michelangelo is 1. So 1, 2, 3, and that will give me 3 action dice to be able to roll against this gunner right here. And I only need 1 health to kill that model. So I'm going to first attack with a ranged ninja star, this little guy right here. So I'm going to roll, and I got 1, 2 damage, and I'm going to stick with that. Now, you can't use a focus to re-roll after the defense has been rolled. I'm going to stick with that. So now the gunner has a defend of 2, so they're going to roll 2 dice, and if they can stop at least, well, they'd have to stop both of them to be able to keep that one alive. So, ooh, nothing. And, you know, it's early in the game, so I don't think I'm going to use a focus to re-roll that, and I'm going to go ahead and take it. So this person just got killed, so I'm going to go ahead and take him out. And now what I'm going to do is I still have these die left. Now this one is a defense, which just gives me an extra defense for that, you know, round if I was going to be attacked. So that's not really going to do anything, but I do still have this die here. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one, which is a double attack. So that's 1, 2, and then again I add it to my +1. That's 3. And now I'm going to attack this person, which is 1, 2 away from me, so they are within range. And I'm going to go ahead and roll that. Ooh, and I got a 1, 2, 3 damage. All right. They again, the gunner here, so our villain player would have defend of 2, which indicates right there. And they're going to go ahead and roll. Could not block it. So that's 3 damage, and I wouldn't be able to block it. Even if I got 2, it would still be the 1 damage, and that villain would be dead. So that villain is now off the board, and I have now used everything from Michelangelo. There's no other action dice that I can take. There's no special abilities that I had in play. He does have one of Leonardo's, which is a defense. Can't really use that actively for anything. That's defense. And he does have one for himself. So that is something that's going to be available as he is attacked in future rounds. But his turn is now over, so we'll go ahead and take those off, and we'll set those to the side. Then we'll grab one of our little stop signs to indicate that Michelangelo has taken his turn. So we'll put that stop right there. It is now the turn of the villain player. So I'm going to go to my cards. And again, when it's the villain player's turn, they can play 2 of their action cards in their hand of 5. And at the end of the turn, you'll draw back up to that 5. Do you always have those available? So I'm going to look here. And again, my main goal is really to make a mad dash to these outer rims here. So I don't know how much attacking I'll be doing in this game. I mean, it is possible maybe to knock one of these Ninja Turtles out, KO one. But let's see here what I've got available to me. So what I'm going to play here is going to be a Thug Brawler. And this one will allow me to move twice. There's 2 movement icons and 1 attack. Now, I'm not going to use that attack. I'm just going to move 2 Thug Brawlers twice, and it does indicate little ×2 right up here, and that's how many of those models you can move. So that's the first card, and how I'm going to track mine is I'm going to kind of go from top to bottom, almost like a conveyor belt. And what happens is if you start a turn and 4 cards are out, you're going to take the oldest 2 cards away, and those will no longer be active. Now, this one here doesn't give me any extra, longer term ability, so that's fine. That's not going to really affect anything here. So 2 of my thugs, and it does have 2 movement icons on it. So I'm going to go here to my brawler, and I'm going to see that for every move icon, I can take that much movement that's on my card here. So it indicates that these guys here can move 3. I will read the card to make sure there isn't any actions that I can take for free. Street Thug Brawlers ignore slow and rough terrain. Wow. Okay. So these guys are going to ignore this slow terrain right here that's in front of them. If it is 1, 2, that means there's 6 movement that's allowed for these street brawlers. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can move another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've already got 2 of my brawlers here that are very close to being able to make their exit off of the board. So I'm going to have to really get a Ninja Turtle up there really quickly. Okay, and the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play this card here, which allows 1 Thug Brawler to move once, and there is a double attack. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move another one of these brawlers towards this exit as well. Now, you'd think, well, why don't you just grab one of these guys and go ahead and get one of them to the end? Well, it's because you can only activate each model once per turn. So what that's going to mean is I'm going to have to get a Ninja Turtle, really 1 if not 2, really kind of down this side of the board as quickly as I possibly can to try to stop some of these Thug Brawlers. And these 2 here, they may have just sort of made their way across the board. Now, that will depend on the cards that I have in my hand if I can continue to move them. And that's kind of the beauty of the game. Do I have any more Thug Brawlers in my hand that I'm able to throw out when I can draw back up for that next turn? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So I'm going to grab this guy right here, and I'm going to do 1, so I can move him 1 skateboard, which means he only gets a movement of 3. And again, slow terrain does not slow these guys down. So 1, 2, 3, that puts him right here. So this was a really good card to lead with for these brawlers. It was lucky that I had that in my hand, able to kind of get them running across that street towards that one exit. Again, we do have this side as well. That is a valid exit point for the villain player. So now that's going to be my 2 cards that I've played. I then will draw back up to my 5. So I'll draw 1, 2 cards. Uh-oh, guess what I got for the next turn? All right, so That's going to be my villain turn for that one there. Now, again, I'm not going to get any focus. That's going to be the end of the round, not the end of each turn. So now it is a Ninja Turtles turn again. So now I'm going to have to figure out who has got a ton of movement because I need to get on the move. So I think what I'm going to do is let's look at Leonardo's specials because Leonardo does have 1, 2, and he doesn't have any. So he has 2. Leonardo has 1, 2, and let's see. Raphael has 1, 2. So they all really kind of have 2. So I think I'll just use Leonardo and I'll try to move him down the board. But let's look at his special attacks here and see if anything will help us. Slice and dice, no. I'll hold him off, no. Double slash, I don't think so. So let's kind of hold those here to the side. And we have 1, 2 movement, and his movement is 3, so that's 6 movement that we have available to us. The way movement works in this game is I can't move, attack, and then move. If I move and then I run into another enemy figure, or I move and I decide to attack, my movement is then spent. I can't use extra movement points after that. So I have to do all my movement at once. And Michelangelo does have a move where he can throw someone. So I probably should have activated that because that would have allowed Michelangelo to grab Leonardo and throw him up to 3 spaces in a straight line, which, you know, I would have landed on other characters. I don't think that would have worked for this situation. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move Leonardo. Now he's already in this space. It does cost 2 to move into this space. He's already in it, so and you can't move diagonally. We got 6. So what we'll do is we'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will jump off into this bag, but I would actually need 2 points to move into it. So I think what I'm going to do, and I can't jump down and land into a space with another character in it. Unless I have some type of ability that allows me to kind of leap into a space. So that's not available to me. Let's see what else I might be able to do. Let me redo that and see if I can somehow get myself here. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can. Okay, so I'm going to leap off this roof and land on the street right here for 6. Now, in doing that, I do have to take 4 damage, and I have 1 defense available to me, so this could do some damage to me. I kind of wish Ninja Turtles could just leap for free, although I could. Ooh, yeah, I don't have enough. I was looking here to see, could I use this terrain card that offers climb? I don't have enough extra movement to do that, so I will have to take the damage. So I'll roll these 4 to see how much damage that I'll take. Okay, that just gets 2 damage. Now, Leonardo, however, has a fairly high defense. So he has defend of 3, and I have 1 shell, which gives me 3 dice plus an extra 1. So I get to roll 4 dice to try to defend those 2. Now, again, a defense is only on 2 of the 6 sides. So let's see if we can defend that. And we do. We get 2 shells. So both of that damage from jumping off the roof is negated. The only thing we have left is our katana here that's shared by Donatello. So I want to look at my special abilities again just to see. And these special abilities do actually cost things. So Slice and Dice costs 2 katanas. You know, 1 costs a focus a katana, 1 focus 2 katanas. So these do cost the action dice to be able to use, and I don't have enough to be able to do anything. Well, I mean, I guess I could do I'll hold them off, but it's more of a defensive action, and I don't necessarily need that right now. I don't think that I'll do that while this card has active figures adjacent to Leo. Treat him as 3 figures when breaking away, or... Ooh, maybe I do want to do this. Huh. In addition, Leo receives Defend +1, and all friendly figures adjacent to Leo receive Defend +2. Now, there is nobody adjacent to me, but that may keep these two guys from trying to run off. Now, it's going to make a lot harder for them to run off if they want to try to get away from Leonardo, but breaking away is going to make it much more difficult. So, but I won't be able to attack. So I think what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to spend another focus, and which I can do. I can spend that focus to buy this, and plus I'm going to use that katana that I have available to me from Donatello, and it's while this card is active. So again, those special moves are going to stay out in front, active for the whole round until it's over. So while this card is active, figures adjacent to Leo treat him as 3 figures when breaking away or waking up. So if there is a villain hero that's KO'd, there's some rules for when they wake up. But basically, I am now equivalent to like 3 characters trying to break away. So it's going to be very, very difficult to break away from me. It's going to cost not only 1 extra movement point, it's going to cost 3 extra movement points on top of whatever they could move. So they do have the ability to break away, but they're not going to be able to run very far. And that's very good for me for these 2 guys here in case I have some cards to be able to play them on the next round. And in addition, I get some extra defense, so Leo does get a +1 defend. So that's going to be good for me when it does get to the point where maybe they can attack. I'll have some extra defense. That's going to give me defense of 1, 2, and 3 more. So I'm going to have, be rolling 5 defense dies if I get attack, which is a pretty heavy defense. So that's going to be Leonardo's turn. He is now done, so I will take the sewer plates here off of him, and I will give him his stop sign indicating that his turn has been taken. But this does stay active through the round. If he gets, if he ends up getting attacked, that is still active. Now it's going to be the villain's turn. The villain is going to go again, and I'm going to again play 2 cards. And I think what I'm going to do is I want to just go ahead and get one of these guys off the board. So I'm going to go ahead and move and play this first card here, which is another 1 Thug Brawler. If it was 2, that would be good, but it's only 1. And it gives me a movement and a double attack. I'm not going to attack anything. I am going to take one of these guys. And for 1's movement point, I can move up to 3. And I will do 1, 2, and then 3. So obviously, I've reached this point in the board. So that now is 1 towards my 3 for the win. We get to play 1 more card. And I think what I'll do here is I will play... Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play another Thug Brawler. So this one allows me to move and attack as well. I was going to actually just attack here in Leonardo, but I'm going to go ahead and move this one, the 1 movement, and 1, 2. So now I have 2 of my 3 already off the board. I have another guy here that's making his way to that area as well. So as you can see, although the Ninja Turtles do have a ton of defense and a ton of attack ability, they do need to start spreading out and moving very quickly to stop these Thug Brawlers, or that villain player is going to be able to get their 3 players off the board. So it is now done. Again, I didn't use any of my focus or do any of that. I will then draw back up to my 5, drawing back 2 more. Okay, interesting. Should be a fun next round. All right, and now when I start my next turn as the villain, I would then expire the 2 oldest ones, which would be here at the top of my belt. So I would take those off, put them in the discard pile, and move those up. But none of them are really giving me any active abilities right now or bonuses, so it doesn't really necessarily matter. But those are going to move up, and that's how we do it. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can put them in a line. In the instructions in the rule book, it indicates to put them like on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side. I just like to kind of do mine this way. It's what works for me. So now we only have Raphael and Donatello that can take their turns. So I'm going to need to start catching up with some of these guys. I feel fairly confident leaving Donatello and Michelangelo back behind because these guys only have 1 life. So I'm not as concerned. But let's look and see what we can do here. Raphael's got quite a bit of ranged attack. Donatello does have some movement, some melee and some ranged, and he has some ranged as well from Raphael. So again, Raphael can only use his 6, and he's right up here on the top of this roof. So I think I'm going to make a dash for, let's see, how many? So I have, no, that's not available to me. So I only have 1 movement, and his movement is worth 3 points. So I could only get to 1, 2, and then I could drop down here. 1, 2, 3. I can drop down. I'm starting to get into range. I think that's what I'm going to do with Raphael. He also, let's see what his special ability does. While this card is active, Raph gains 1 focus each time he KOs an enemy, but he cannot spend focus. Okay. His ability is just the fact that he has 6 dice. So it's hard, you know? I mean, do I take some ranged attacks on these guys? Do I jump down here and take some melee and ranged attacks and just try to clear these guys out? I don't know. This guy's making me nervous. I mean, Leonardo's got these 2 locked down. These guys are already off the board. This guy's making me really nervous. So I think I'm going to take Raphael, and I'm going to do a 1, 2. Now, I'd like to use my 3rd point to jump down here in this area, but you need to have extra movement points to move into an area like that. So I believe to jump off, I'd have to have 2 more movement points. It isn't once you're in it takes 2 to move out. It takes an extra 1 to move in. So I'm going to go ahead and play it as 1, 2, and then I jump off the, hang on. 1, yeah, I'm here. Let's just do 1, 2. Oh, that's much better. I'm going to jump off the roof right here and land right next in melee range to this guy. That works out. So again, I do have to take my 4 dice damage of jumping off. So let's see what damage that would do. 1, 2, 3. These were misses. And let's see. His defense is 3. I have another one for 4. Roll my 4 defense against that, and hopefully I can block close to the 3. And I only block 1. So that's a block of 1. I'll take 2 damage. So I'm going to take 2 of the little pizza slices off of Raphael for jumping down there. And that is his movement. So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that I've used his movement. I now have a double. I have 3 ranged die, but I can't really use that because I'm right adjacent to this character. So if you're adjacent, you can't really use ranged attack. This character would at least have to be 2 spots away. So 1, 2. They're right up next to me. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to do melee damage. But I happen to have 2 katanas, so I do have melee attacks here. And for my attack, it is 2. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will use all of that against this guy because I want to make sure that I kill him. So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that I've used both of these katanas. So that's 1, 2 for those. And then my attack skill is a 2. So that's 2 more dice. So I have 4 dice that I'm actually using to attack this guy. Now, he will get to defend, and his defense is 2. So he'll get to roll 2 defend die, and I can use focus to try to re-roll those as well. So can I. So I'm going to go for a big attack. This is a really important one. I really need to make sure I kill this guy with Raphael. So here goes the roll, and that's 1, 2. I am going to spend a focus, and that will be it upon this reroll. I'm going to re-roll both of these misses. Okay, I got 1 more. Not terrible, but I got 1 more. So that's 3 hits, and that's enough to kill this brawler. He has a life of 3. Okay, so the brawler has 2 defense. So let's grab 2 die for the brawler. And what can I, now as the villain player, block? Nothing. Okay, this is an important one, and I don't want to die. I want to still have this guy alive. So I'm going to spend 1 focus as a villain as well to be able to go ahead and re-roll my defense. So I will re-roll that. Oh, and I was able to block one of them. So there's only 2 damage that went through, so he's not dead. So I'll take 2 damage tokens, and I'll put that on the brawler there. I just kind of set these pieces right under him. And he is still alive. And Raphael's turn is now over because he's used everything that he can potentially do. So, you know, tough one for Raphael. He wasn't able to take the brawler there and kill him. So I'll put my little token. Well, I didn't really use these ranged ones, so it doesn't really matter. I can't. Now, technically, I could attack ranged this brawler right here, but again, as we stated, every space that's outside of 2 would be 1 less damage. So it's 1, 2, so it'd be 1, 2, 3. So it'd be 3 less damage. I'd have to do a substantial amount of damage, but I do have 1, 2, 3 on ranged. And I look here, it just uses the attack, so that would be 1, 2, 3, and 2 more. So I'd have 5 dice. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing to at least try. I mean, I have the actions available. So let's go ahead and take a ranged attack. And you can attack through friendly figures. So I'm just kind of throwing those ninja stars around Leonardo. Maybe he's doing like a splits in the air and it's kind of going right through. I don't know. We'll see. So this brawler's here. I will pick up, so I'll do my, I'll go ahead and put those on here showing them. And it would be 5 dice that I would get to roll for that ranged attack. So let me see here, and I'll roll. All right. Okay, this was a pretty good roll. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm then going to use another one of Raphael's focuses, because again, you can only use it per roll. I can't use it multiple times within this, interaction and roll. So I'm going to use another focus, and allow me to roll these 2 misses, and let's see what I can get. Oh, man. Raph with the ninja stars. So I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage, -3, doing 5 damage, and that will kill this guy, but he does get to defend. So he has his 2 that he will roll. Let's see what I can do. And it's 1 defense, and that would drop it. That's still a kill. And it wouldn't even matter really, because even if I blocked another one, that would still be 3 damage. So there's no reason for me to spend another focus. This guy got wiped out with Raphael's ninja stars. So this brawler just got totally KO'd from a massive ranged attack from Raphael. That couldn't have been better. I mean, the only way that turn could have been any better is if I would have actually KO'd this one as well. So I've got 3 of my enemies KO'd, 3 of my 8 to win the scenario. So you can see there that these 2 made their way all the way to the end there, but I very quickly was able to get my Ninja Turtles spanned out to be able to control this kind of, these mess of these brawlers all taken off going towards this side. So you can see how that'll turn around. So I'll go ahead and take off my plates here and set those to the side. Man, I love this game. It's so much fun. And I find that the more I play, the more fun I have with this game. It really has great combat and movement mechanics built in. I mean, Kevin really did a great job with the design on this one. A lot of these games that are designed like this, where you've just got a couple tiles and you're moving around, you're doing a battle, it feels very like, okay, I roll, you roll, I roll, you roll, and this has so much more depth to it. There's so many decisions that you're making, but it plays out pretty quickly. And I know this video is fairly lengthy as we're playing through just this one scenario, but I'm really trying to talk through what we're doing and why it's important, and that adds extra time, obviously. But when you get in and you're just playing the game with your friends, it does move pretty quickly, and it is very engaging, and you have a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to put the stop sign here on Raphael because his turn is over. Man, I'm getting excited here. This is fun. I mean, what's going to happen here? Is the villain really going to be able to pull this off? Because where we're at now, we've got 1 brawler here, and then these guys are all 1 life. I mean, I could take these guys out really easily. So they're going to have to start really attacking and or being very nimble and moving around the board and getting some high movement points for the villain to even have a chance at this point. Raphael really saved us on that one. So now it is the villain's turn. I'm going to grab my 5 cards so I'm starting my turn. I've got 4. These are the 2 oldest ones. They're going to come off the board. They're going to go in the discard pile. These are going to move up, and then I'm going to play 2 more. So if I want to get this villain moving again, which wouldn't be a bad thing, because now Raphael's done. I don't have anybody else near me, and none of these other Ninja Turtles is probably going to be able to get over to me unless Leonardo, which, well, no, Leonardo can't because he's already taken his turn. I only have Donatello left after this last turn. So it would be advantageous for me to maybe try to get this guy moving this way, or maybe even have some of these ranged guys start to jump, you know, maybe go up the scaffold and get onto this roof and try to make it over. I don't know, we'll see. So let's see, I can move. So that's one move. Couple gunner moves. Interesting. So I think what I'm going to do is on my first one, I'm going to get some defense out on the board. So this card here is one of these little defense icons on it. And what that means is every one of these figures, which is the gunners, they get to take advantage of that defense. It isn't like just one of them gets it. Like I say, okay, this guy gets the defense. No, all the figures that are of the same kind get that defense. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out on the board to lay down that defense capability. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to play that card first. I want that to... well, it's not really going to matter. So I'll go ahead and put that down. And that also allows me to attack twice. And it does have an ability here. It says, once per range strike, Street Thug Gunners may re-roll their battle dice for free. Okay, so that's going to be a pretty good attack. And that's only going to allow me to activate one model. So I think what I'll do is these guys with the little guns here, they don't actually get hurt by that ranged ability. So, you know, Michelangelo is outside of the 1-2, so it should be -1 for the damage. But it indicates their special ability is Street Thug Gunners range strikes do not weaken for the first 4 spaces. So I'm definitely within 1, 2, 3. I'm definitely within that 4, so it's not going to weaken. And it gets 2 stars, so that's 2, and their attack is 1, so that's going to be 1, 2, and then 3 dice for that attack. And I will take that attack on Michelangelo here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll all of that attack against Michelangelo. There is no movement there on that, so that person will stay right there. And that's going to be 1, 2. It's not a lot. And Michelangelo's defense is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he has a lot of defense. Interesting. Okay. I do want to do some damage to Michelangelo, so I'm going to spend another focus, and I'm going to re-roll. I'm going to chance it. I'm going to keep one of mine, and I'm going to re-roll both of these, hopefully to get some doubles. And I don't, but I do get all attack. So it's 3 attack. Michelangelo is going to roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice. Let's double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he gets the 1 from Leonardo, which would be 5. Let's re-roll that, and I don't block any of it. I don't block any of it. So that's 3 damage right to Michelangelo. So 1, 2, and then these big pizzas are worth 5. So that would be 1 from that. So I would take 4 of the little pieces and put that back. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And that's Michelangelo's life. Now, if I can get a few more of those guys to make some devastating shots like that, I might be able to KO Michelangelo. But I wasn't able to, obviously, on that one. So now I'm going to go for my second card. And I think on this one, I will activate this card, which is another Street Thug. And that allows me to move once, and it allows me to attack twice. It doesn't give me any benefit or anything, but it does allow me to move and attack. So I've already used this model, and I do have this model here. So what I think I will do is, again, I'm going to attack Michelangelo, and I can draw that straight line center to center, so I will be able to attack Michelangelo from here, and that's not outside of my range either. So I'll go ahead and make that attack with my gunner, and there is 2. So 1, 2, and the attack is another 1, so that's 3. So I'll grab those 3 again, and I'll do an attack All right, so I don't want to continue to use my focus because I might need it. And again, I only get focus back at the end of every round. I get one focus back. And I still have Donatello, and I might need to use that focus. So I'm just going to take the 2 and leave it at that. You know what? I actually did something incorrect, and I'm going to grab this focus and bring it back because I didn't need to spend it to re-roll my die. Because again, this card here, it says this turn only. Once per range strike, Street Thug Gunners may reroll the battle dice for free. And I didn't do that for free. I used that. So I am going to go ahead and reroll this miss because I can do it for free. And there we go for a double attack. So 1, 2, 3, 4 against Michelangelo. And Michelangelo has his 5 defense die, so he'll grab that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure I got the right. I'll roll those, and I only block 2. Only be 3 damage to me, so I think I'm just gonna let that. I'm gonna let that go because I will have Donatello's turn and I'll have one more villain turn. So I might want to use that then at that point in time. And again, when I re-roll my die, if I get one of those, the yin yangs, the cheese or chai, I think that's how you say it. I'll be able to heal potentially on that on Michelangelo. So I'll go ahead and leave that. And I did 1, 2, 3, 4. And I blocked 2, so I only take 2 damage there on that, so I'll just take 2 of those pizzas away. Not that big of a deal, but I was able to get a hit off, and that allows me to activate 2 models. I still can move as well, so I will move, and allows me to move up to 3 spots. So I'm actually going to go 1, and I'm going to jump in this area right here for 2, 3. So I'm on my way up to the top of this roof so I can kind of make it to that zone there. All right, so that's where he is. Now I have one more model that I can activate, and I'm going to activate this model. Or no, I'm sorry. I already activated that model for attacking, so that model is done. That was all within that one turn for this guy, and that's it. So that is it. So I didn't decide to... Well, again, this card did allow me to do 2. This was 1 of my second one. So I can use one more model to move and then attack, or attack and then move. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to attack Michelangelo again with this character, and then I'm going to move. So this character will attack. They're going to get their 3. I'm going to go ahead and roll. It'd be a 1, 2, and then 3. Yes. Go ahead and roll. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to keep it right there. I'll get my defense here for Michelangelo, the 5 die that he gets. Roll those. I blocked nothing. Interesting. I'm going to spend a focus to re-roll all of these dice for Michelangelo. And I blocked 1, 2. So 1 damage gets through on Michelangelo. And I'll take that off of him. And he is just getting shot up. And now I'm going to move. And the movement points is 1. We check our move here. That's just 3 movements. So I'm going to jump into this for 1, 2. And then 3 onto the top of this roof. So basically what I'm going to try to do now is take this gunner. And I'm going to try to make a straight dash to get him off the board. And if I can win as the villain. And the same with this guy on my next turn. I'm going to try to jump onto that roof and make a straight dash. But I still have Donatello that can go. So maybe Donatello can take this guy out. I don't know. We'll see. So that's the villain turn. The villain turn is now over. I would then draw back up to my 5. And I'm ready now for the next round. So I'll set that there. So now it's Donatello's turn. So Donatello, let's read his ability first, see what he does, and it's called Smart. It says, at the start of each round, Donnie may either regain 1 focus or give 1 of his focus to another hero of his choice, not to exceed the max, obviously. So, you know what I'm going to do is... Oh, this says at the end of each round. Okay. Well, it isn't technically the end yet, so I'll hold off on that. But I probably will give 1 of his to probably Michelangelo. Or I could give it to Leonardo, doesn't matter. Just to kind of give them a little extra bump because, Donnie's got 4. So now what we'll do is we'll look at the abilities and let's see if I can even use any of them. Okay, one of them takes a focus, so I can do that. And one of them takes 3 katanas. That's not going to work. I don't have that. So let's look at what it says here. Bow staff defense. While this card is active, Donnie treats double hit results as double blocks when defending. I don't think either one of those is really going to be valuable for this particular round. So I'll just go ahead and do a standard move. So I have one movement, I have a ranged, and I have a katana. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to... His attack is low. It's only 1. I'm going to go ahead and move. And I'm going to move this way. So I'm going to do... And his movement is 3. He has 1 skateboard. Well, he also has another ranged here from Raphael. And he has another move from Leonardo. So I do have quite a bit of movement. And I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to just do a movement first. And I'm going to do 1... 2. Let me think about this. So this is an interesting one here because what I would like to do is actually do a ranged attack against this guy and then see if I can move Donatello and get him a little closer to kind of block this guy off here. Because Michelangelo is either going to need to do a climb ability to get up to this roof, or he's going to need to make a dash sort of down this way to get over. So, you know, technically, let's look at this. So this person's in, you know, this this fire escape here, and it says that fire escapes are adjacent to both low and elevated terrain. But then it says figures can't move from low to elevated terrain except through fire escapes or by using the climb movement here. And then it also says figures in elevated terrain are considered to be 2 extra spaces away when attacked with ranged strikes by attackers in low terrain. So figures in elevated terrain are considered to be 2 extra spaces away. So, you know, you can attack. I could take Donatello into a ranged attack on this guy here, but he would be not 1, he'd be 1 plus 2, so he'd be 3 spaces away. So I would lose 1 because he's outside of that 2. So I could do that. But this guy here is adjacent to both low and high terrain. So he's right next to me. So he's only 1, 2 spaces away. So I'm going to attack this guy ranged, and I have 1, 2 ranged. So I'm going to do that for my first action. I'm going to go ahead and attack him ranged. So that's going to be 1, 2, and my attack is another 1. So that's 3 dice that I can attack with for that range. And I'm going to do 1 damage to kill him. So that is 1, 2. And I missed with that one. I want to make sure I make that kill. So I'm going to use that focus. And I'm going to re-roll this die. Oh, I get a miss again. Okay, so 2. Now let's look at the Street Thugs defense. And again, I played this card here, which gives all Street Thugs, specifically the Gunners, 2 extra defense die. So the defend on him is 2, and he gets 2 more. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 to defend, and he only has to defend. He has to defend both of them because if one goes through, he's dead. And he defends 1, 2, 3. He did it. Okay, he did it. And I can't use another focus to try to re-roll that. That would be cheating. So he was able to defend against that ranged attack, and that now is spent. So I do have some more actions. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move and I'm going to melee attack. So I'm leaving this guy open. Maybe, let's see. Okay, if I wanted to move, I'd have to jump down here for 1. Take damage. I'd have to break away. So I would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get here. And I do have 6 movement. So I could end movement here and then attack this guy. I think that's what I'm going to do because Mikey's closer to him and I think Mikey might be able to take him out before he's able to get in there. But, it's a risk because I don't know what the villain player is going to play on the next turn, and the villain does get another turn. And if the villain's got some high movement points, he may be able to get that final figure off the board. So all within one round, this entire scenario could have played out to be a win condition if the villain is able to get that third character off the board. So I'm gonna take my luck and try to split the difference here, because this villain's gonna have to move 1, 2, 3. This guy's gonna have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I can easily do that if I get a couple movements. It is less movement here. Okay, so I think my chances are better to take this guy out and hope that there isn't enough movement for the villain to get him all the way there. So that's what I'm going to do. I've changed my mind. I'm going to take Donatello, and I'm going to use that movement, and I'm really only going to need to use one of those, and I'm going to move 1, 2, and I'm actually going to move right here for 3 to try to block that movement and make that character have to break away. So I'm going to move right here, and then I'm going to attack this character because they are in an adjacent space, and I can attack, and I'm going to use my final attack, and that's just 1, and then I have 1 attack. So it's only 2 dice to try to make that kill. Okay, and that's 2. Now, the question is, do I spend a focus to try to get a double attack? But it might end up being a shell, because he's still going to get 4. So, this is a hard call, because I really need to make this kill. But I may not get the double, and only one side is a double. So math tells me I'm going to keep with the 2. Now, that gunner does get 4 dice. It's 2 normal plus the 2 extras. That was really smart for that villain to put that down. Really smart for me to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and roll, and I only blocked 1 of them, which means it gets through. But I am going to spend a focus, obviously, because it's such critical, and I'm going to keep that 1, and I get to re-roll these 3. So if I do not roll a shell, this guy's dead. If I do roll a shell, that's going to be very good for the villain. And I roll 3 shells! Oh, man! What a block! Okay, so that is totally negated. And this damage goes off the board. And this little gunner lives to fight another day. Donatello was not able to take him out. So I'll take these off the board. And now Donatello's turn is over. Okay, all 4 turtles have gone. It is now the final villain's turn. So I'm starting my turn. There are 4 on the board. These 2 come off. These 2 move up, with that extra defense still being active, which is very good, and that's kind of part of that timing mechanic. So now I'm going to look at my cards. I do have 5. And am I able to move brawlers? Yes, I am able. I got a card to do that, and it gives me 2 movement points. So let's think about that. I have to spend an extra 1 to break away. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would need 7 movement to make it all the way there, and I would have an extra 1 to break away. So I would actually need 8 movement to be able to win with that character. I do not have that unless I have another card. Well, I wouldn't be able to activate him twice anyway, so that's not going to work. I could start to maybe break away, and I will tell you that you may think you've got a character here and this is kind of a corner. You can actually squeeze through those corners. That does not completely block you. But again, Leonardo is worth 3 figures. So that would be, let's just do the math here. That would be 6 movement, and it would cost 1, 2, 3 to even break away. So I could spend 3 to break away, and then I would have 3 more movement left, so I could technically do 1, 2, 3, because this train does not slow these guys down. So I could do that to move him a little further. And let's see what we got for the thugs. Okay. Ooh. Uh-oh. All right, so I'm going to throw down this card here, which allows me to move 2 gunners, and it's a 2 movement and an attack, which is 6 movement points. This gunner here would have to spend 1 to break away, and this one would have to spend nothing and would still get 6. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 6 with this guy and to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to jump off that roof down to here, which would be 5. Now, here's the question. I do have to jump off the roof to do that, and that may kill me, but I'm going to go ahead and take my chances to do that. I'm going to take my chances to make this jump, okay? It's dicey, but I'm going to take my chances because it's very close to the villain being able to actually win this scenario, and we'll play the whole scenario out within 1 round. So now what happens is I've made that jump, 4 damage. There's nothing there to, like, stop me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, could you say this pizza sign you could land on? No, I don't think that counts because it really says that it has to be... let's find it here where it says climbing. It says the damage is avoided when moving into a space that contains a trash heap, a dumpster, or a fire escape. Okay, so there's no dumpster, trash heap, or fire escape. There's a dumpster here. If I was over here, I'd be able to do it. But there's not here. This is just a pizza sign. So I don't believe that blocks that. So I'm going to roll my 4 damage. Let's see what happens. Okay, and that is a 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of deadly. So I have to block 3, 4 worth of damage. Now he does get 4 dice. Again, we got our 2 extra that are out plus the 2 normal that you can negate, and I can use a focus to reroll. So I need to block 3 damage because this guy only has 1 life. That jump might have done him in. So I block 1, 2. Okay, I only need to block 1 more. I am definitely going to spend a focus, and all I need is 1 turtle shell, and the villain wins the game. And he gets it! 2 turtle shells. He makes the jump, and he lands it. Maybe he sprung an ankle. I don't know. Nobody knows. But he made it off the board, and that is 1, 2, 3. So at this point, the villain has achieved victory for this scenario. They have got 3 of their models successfully into the goal area and off the board. So the villain player actually just won the game. So you can see that even within 1 round of the game, a scenario can be won by the Ninja Turtles or the villains. And as we were playing this through, you probably didn't think that the villains were going to be able to win. I mean, there was a couple situations there where it was like, you know, it started off with the villains getting this big run out where it was like, oh, they've already got 2 guys off the board. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Then the Ninja Turtles just started to move their way around the villains and just start to take them out, right? Had everything locked down. Leonardo had this locked down. Raphael almost had this guy. You know, Donnie and Mike are over here. They've totally got this side covered. But look at that. One of these guys was able to slip through and get off the board. And that's what I love about this game. We were able to see here with this gameplay just how dynamic and how that game sort of went back and forth only within 1 round. I mean, we haven't even gone into a 2nd round or a 3rd round. And it's not that we have to, right? So let's just play this out and say that, you know, the scenario wasn't, you know, really accomplished within that 1st round. So what's going to happen now is, you know, we would take all our stop signs off. The villain would get to get 1 focus back for the end of that round. I would retain the cards that were in my hand. And these cards would stay on. It isn't like everything just wipes off for the next round. So that, you know, these cards will stay in play and they will persist round to round. But again, you know, after I played that 4th card, then these 2 would come off and then these 2 would go up. So that's kind of how that would work, but I wouldn't need to play that 4th card because I was able to get the win with this daring little guy right here that jumped off the roof for the win. That was awesome. So that's what would happen. The special ability would come back and be accessible again for the next round, and then all the turtles would re-roll their dice, their action dice, and then you'd have all new different types of actions and combinations that you could set up for the next round. So going into this next round, if for some reason this guy died, and you know this guy tried to move, but somehow, you know, he didn't make it either for one reason or the other, I then would be very strategic in the Ninja Turtle side and going into that next round and determining, okay, I've got this guy here, I've got these guys here, I got this guy here. Like, how would I arrange all my dice to make sure that I was able to stop these? And again, the Ninja Turtles will go first within the round, and I can choose which Ninja Turtle to go first. So more than likely, I would want Raphael to have a high attack and to go first on the next round, you know, killing this guy here. So with this first scenario, you can see it's really about the tactics of movement. There was some combat that you saw here, but not a lot. It wasn't like we fought every time. It was mainly tactically moving around from the enemy's perspective, moving their models around the board to try to get off the board, and the Ninja Turtles trying to sort of jump around and stopping them from being able to do that, and, you know, taking them out as much as possible. So the enemy was really more about movement on this one, and the Ninja Turtle was more about attack. Because again, we were only able to take out 3 of their thugs for the actions of, you know, how I took my actions. Where, you know, my pool may have been higher than that if I would have done some more upfront, maybe front KOing of some of those, you know, guys only had 1 health up here. But again, I don't think I would have reached my 8 total before, and we did have to sort of run off a few of these guys that kind of made a breakaway to take those guys out. Because remember that Raphael made that awesome ranged attack and took out another one of those brawlers that was over here. So that's Ninja Turtles Shadows of the Past. This is just an awesome game. I can't tell you enough how much I recommend this game. It is a great... it's a great 2-player game. It's a great 3 or 4-player game, but I'm amazed in how smooth the 2-player interaction is, because generally when you have 2 people and one person's controlling, you know, all the heroes, in this situation it's all the heroes, so you're controlling 4 characters, it doesn't feel heavy. So it's designed very well. I mean, even one player can say, okay, this is just what I'm going to do, and it is a very light game when there's just one player, you know, controlling each one of the Ninja Turtles. But even you saw there with one player kind of controlling all of them, it still flows and it's very light because you're only really using one Ninja Turtle when it's your turn. It's really the strategy up front in determining how to put these dice in which order, and remembering that you can use, you know, the die on either side outside of Raphael, and then just making sure to review your individual Ninja Turtle ability as well as your special moves. But once you know those special moves, and there's not that many that you'll have available to you, again, at the beginning you'll select, you know, a set number of special moves per turtle. And again, a lot of those are more situational. So it's just really picking that stack up and saying, okay, is this situation call for one of these special moves, yes or no? So it does still flow very quickly, and I like that. Any of these games that are battle mechanic like this, and the battle mechanic is simple, right? You roll the dice, you roll your defense, you've got your option of using your focus if it's available to you one time to try to, you know, offset that one way or the other. I think it's great. It's very, very well done. Kevin, another great one to add to the list. I do definitely highly recommend this game. It is awesome. Go pick it up. So this has been Ninja Turtles Shadows of the Past. Click that like, hit the subscribe below to join, ring the bell. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.